Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to Sunday Night with Shane, another episode. Probably one of the episodes which we've come into it the most happy because yesterday was an incredible win for Watford, an incredible ending to the game with the scenes on the touchline after Adam Messina scored the winner. Two winners for him in the week for Adam Messina, so we'll be discussing that. We'll be discussing everything that's happened with Watford in the past week. And of course, we're joined by the main man. It's Mr. Shane Hornet Shane. Here he is.
Oh, yes. That was a beautiful. Do you know what, mate? Honestly, that was a great intro. And it's
Shade, it's Hornet Shade. Do you like that?
As you say, yeah, I love that. Actually, no, it's really good. Look, listen, as you say, it's been a good week. Let's not lie about it. But obviously, kind of away from the pitch a little bit. Of course, the world's been hooked by an interview with Prince Harry, but WD18 subscribers have been hooked to an interview with our very own Prince Philip, of course. Came on the channel, which was actually it was a great interview. Actually, I must admit,
thanks, mate.
Very down to earth kind of guy, isn't he? You could tell it kind of gave me an idea. End of the season, if we do get promoted, touch wood, if we do get promoted, at WD18. PZ7 link up at Fridays in Watford. I'm a big fan of the old fish and chips.
Yeah.
Let us do that. Let us go down there and treat a man to a fish and chips, because the way in which we're playing at the moment, it's just, we posed the question, maybe about a couple of weeks ago. You asked the question, do you think we've turned a corner in our away form? And after the Cardiff game will be the big indicator. I said it again last week. It's almost a case of a teacher asking a student, really, isn't it? What have you learned from the last time you made a mistake against this team? Cardiff came to Vicarage Road, they outfought us and they outthought us. It's very much a case of what have we learned? The same group of players and a different manager in that respect. Could we maybe right the wrongs of what happened at Vicarage Road and what was the first defeat at the Vic this season for us? But I wouldn't say everything was fantastic throughout. I thought at times it got a little bit uncomfortable. But listen, we'll save the best bit for the very end, of course. But we'll start off chronologically, by talking about yesterday's game. Coming into it, a lot of nerves. We knew what Cardiff were about. It was been built as a very big game for us, and the reason, of course, why that was is I think the last couple of weeks we've been quite lucky. You had Brentford and Swansea who played. Last couple of weeks, they actually played after us. So we'd kind of been either the Friday night game or the Saturday lunchtime. I think actually more likely to be the Saturday lunchtime kind of game. And what? We came into it, Brentford had won on Friday night, Swansea had won on Saturday lunchtime. I didn't watch either of the games either because I just no, I'm not. I just want to focus on this. And I genuinely just wanted to focus, I think, really on our game, because started getting kind of wound up, and there was absolutely no way I was going to be cheering the other team that Swansea were playing. So it was no chance of that at all. Do not get into that trap of cheering for other teams, because that's what it comes down to. We did the same, didn't we, last season? We wanted other teams, the relegation battle, to slip up. And
wasn't pleasant, was it?
No, it wasn't pleasant at all, but it was of course, it was different. We didn't have a direct rival in last season, whereas this season we do. Teams kind of came out, the big change, Chalobah back in again, right move, right call in that respect. Gray dropping out. I didn't think Gray was particularly good against Nottingham Forest. And I thought it was generally was the right decision in that respect. And I'll be honest with you, coming into the start of the game, we were more than aware of the threat that Cardiff had. Kiefer Moore, I think in particular, I think he won. I saw a stat going around before the game yesterday that he won every single header at Vicarage Road, or had won every, I think, battle, I think it actually was, at the Vic. We had to keep him quiet. I thought on the most part, though, we kind of did. The first goal, though, and we will start off with that.
Yeah, we've got it, haven't we?
We've got to start off with the first goal. I think the biggest reason for that is because, obviously, had there not been no touch on that in the area, then it's a tap-in for Moore, really, because he is literally running in at the post. I just thought we kind of switched off a little bit there. Kiko was sprinting back. He was out of position. Trust, I don't think he had a very good game yesterday. I think he's maybe the one play you single out to say, was he good enough? I thought at times he looked quite scared almost on the ball, really, and it wasn't particularly convincing from him. But the ball comes into the area, though. Surialta has to do something with it, but anything but turn it into the back of his own net. I think he
It's
genuinely
a difficult
tried.
situation, isn't
Yeah.
it? When the goal's coming across the box, and as you said, Shane, I mean, the fact of the matter is it would have gone in regardless. But
Yeah,
I guess it's for you. Is it the bit just before that we need to do better in terms of closing down the man?
Kiko, listen, I love Kiko. I've sung his praises. I thought he was caught. I thought he was caught out for the goal yesterday. Trust, could you argue? Could he have done a bit better for it? Maybe, but I think we're being. I think we're picking at it maybe slightly too much in that respect. I think when the ball comes in, Surialta has to do something with it. I think he was desperately trying to clear it behind the goal, but I just don't think he was. I think actually when the ball actually does come in, actually look at where his positioning kind of is. He's almost kind of off balance anyway, really. So, we went 1-0 down, head in hands.
The reaction,
moment.
Shane.
Yeah,
the reaction was
head in hands moment, mate. Because I'll tell you what, I was sitting there thinking, oh no, 1-0 down. I said it, didn't I, last week? We got to get the first goal. If we get the first goal, it'll be okay. We didn't, but my word, the reaction as you went into, mate, I was just.
You know what, Shane? That first 5 minutes was pretty subdued, and I was waiting for the old. And there we go, Daniel Chalobah. Mate, I mean, I've seen comparisons with that goal from Chalobah to Ronaldinho versus Chelsea in 2004, right? It was arguably goal of the season. Is that a fair statement?
I think it's a contender for goal of the season. I think maybe do you give it to him based on the technique alone? I think I saw a couple of people today saying João Pedro's goal against Derby is got to be up there. The fantastic finishes that was. Maybe you do give it to Chalobah based on how difficult that chance really was. Exquisite footwork. Footwork was absolutely exquisite. I kind of thought it kind of got away from him a little bit, but rifles it into the back of the net. It's 1-1. We're straight back in the game again. And that's exactly what we wanted, didn't we? And kind of the game was living up to the billing kind of beforehand, two sides that kind of needed the points, really. And Cardiff, I guess, was slightly different for them. They're trying to make inroads into the playoffs, but to get that goal back, I think he was even mentioned as well. I think we've got one of the most stubborn defenses, I think, in the elite, in the actual league at the moment. So Cardiff breaching that early, us getting the fight back. My favourite ever presenter, and now everyone's favourite presenter, of course, Colin Murray, pointing out how hasn't Chalobah not scored more goals this season? It's because he's playing I thought he was playing in a slightly more advanced role yesterday, and that really helped him. And I think that's kind of thing that they're saying that those guys didn't really pick up on, the fact that actually he's been out for 2 games suspended. My God, looking at his performance yesterday, we've missed him. Our midfield is better for him starting, and I do want to touch on this just in case I don't say it later on. I thought he captained the side superbly yesterday. I think he deserves a hell of a lot of credit. Chalobah, start the season under Rivic, there were big question marks around him. Is he going to be the player that we all know he is? Is he going to come back and basically reach his full potential with us? The answer to that question, I think, was realised yesterday. Yesterday, I called it for Hungbo last week. I think yesterday was a real coming of age for him, captaining the side. A fantastic performance, going 1-0 down with the captain scoring that goal, massive boost. And I think we kind of carried that forward throughout the rest of the game. And
Shane, can I jump in there just on Chalobah? Because I think just while it's on the topic of Nathaniel, I think it'd be really interesting to talk about his evolution at Watford. I think particularly this season. Is this a case of him just simply improving, or I think we can all agree has, or is it a case of actually Cisco deploying him in the right role?
I think Cisco's done wonders, hasn't he, with this? And I know we're going to go on and talk about Cisco, but he deserves a lot of the credit. He's utilised Chalobah, I think, in the right way. Things weren't working out with him under Rivic. I think we've just got to be perfectly honest about it. And there were doubts about it, but he has stepped up massively with his performances. The way in which he's been deployed, he looks more comfortable with the 3 in the midfield. I also think it kind of helps. He's got someone like Zinc, of course, with him in there. Zinc's able to kind of like pick open a few more holes for him. Not saying that Clevs doesn't do that. I just think Zinc's more adept at doing that. I think it's more Zinc's game. And I feel like Chalobah is so much better for it, really. And as I say, it was 1-1. And he has improved. Rudy's absolutely spot on there. He has absolutely improved magnificently. Coming on, of course, to like the end of the half, I didn't really think, aside from the equalising goal, it was very Jekyll and Hyde after that. I felt like we were pinning them into our own box. We had some good chances in that towards the end of that. João Pedro, acrobatic chance, which on another day could have flown in, or
the audacity of that,
hit
mate.
the top of the hit the top of the and that's the thing, right? It's and again I talk about Chalobah's goal giving the rest of the team confidence. I think it gave Pedro confidence to just try it. Chalobah tried it, why don't you have a go, kind of thing. And I think that's exactly what happened. It became very scrappy though second half. As the second half kind of started, we dominated the possession. I think the first about 20, 25 minutes of that second half, about 70% or so possession. We just couldn't finish our chances. Saar had a great header, well saved. Another chance that was kind of off balance really from him. But you kind of sensed it though, didn't you? 1-1. Game was kind of drawing to a close. I know Aidan Flint had a great, well, I say great. It was actually an acrobatic effort, completely going over the bar. There was that sense when I was watching it that for all the great possession we've got, for all the chances that we're looking to create, as for all of our activity, as it were, in the final third, we could just fall short here. Or the game could just whimper out to a 1-1 draw, and we don't think anything really of it.
Did you feel there was another goal in it, Shane? Did you feel there was another goal?
I personally didn't, if I'm being honest with you. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I didn't. The only person who I know who did think there would be another goal in it was the reporter on Final Score, who basically said, hold on to your hats because there will be a goal. He predicted a goal, and wow. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a moment in a match where I saw us get a free kick and thought, well, this is just going to go over. Oh, yeah, well, we're going to get a half error on this. Aidan Flint will, smack this up the field and the referee will blow the whistle. Of course, we're never going to score from a free kick. And I'll be honest, Messina lined up to take it. I wasn't really expecting very much. 94 minutes was kind of ticking on and you thought, all right, as the saying goes, it is now or never, really. And it was now, wasn't it? It really was now. Oh, Messina.
Can you describe that feeling, Shano? I mean, I put a tweet out yesterday saying I haven't celebrated a goal like that probably since the Liverpool game.
Absolutely mad.
The feeling I got from that goal, and let us know in the chat if you were the same. It was as if I was back in the stands. The way I celebrated that, I was screaming, I was shouting. The top was off. It was
euphoric, mate. Absolutely euphoric. I'll tell you that much, right? Because I was obviously sitting watching the game, didn't think very much of it. The ball goes in, and it is just the biggest lion's roar you have ever heard. There were rumours going around that people were inquiring about whether or not I was actually okay because I never yelled so loud like that in my life. Well, I've not yelled anything, positive and constructive ever in my life like that. Just say it like that. But as you say, mate, the last time I celebrated a goal like that was against Liverpool. That was a huge goal in more ways than one, and we talk about the goal going in. It's a free kick, the first since Alman Abdi against Aston Villa, which of course I was there for. And, I didn't think I would be waiting so long for such another goal. To put it into some kind of perspective for you, the last time Watford scored a free kick was Alman Abdi, and I was in the second year of university. I've now left university.
And I'm in the second year of university, and you're working full time.
And I had to wait. How long have I have to wait now for that? How long is it now? About 4 years maybe for it to have finally come. I mean,
unbelievable.
It was well worth the wait. And you know what? I'll tell you one thing now. If you had to break your free kick duck in a game, I think yesterday was the game, wasn't it? It was on a knife's edge. It was probably going to end 1-1. Everyone will exclaim, the Cardiff keeper should have done better. There was a lot of talk about that yesterday. The Cardiff goalkeeper just kind of swiped the ball. He kind of swiped his hand at it. Didn't get anywhere near there, but who cares? And the celebrations at the end, my God, you know what? We talk about, the pinch me moment as and when and if and when, of course, we do get promoted. But the players want it just as much. And those celebrations saved off all the screenshots. I've saved it all off. I'm going to probably change a few of my background pictures because I've got old background pictures somewhere. But it's that real. But I'll tell you what it is, right? It's that real togetherness. The subs bench as well, I noticed on some of the more extended pictures, acted like an away and running down from their seats. It was fantastic to see. Cisco as well, bouncing up and down. Brilliant, he loves it though, doesn't he? And all the players in there, Trusticong, all the guys. It was so fantastic. And I want to touch on something that Sam said actually yesterday. There was a lot of emotion attached to that goal. There's been a real feeling of disconnect throughout, I think, this pandemic and throughout, us not being in the ground. But yesterday I felt something. I felt the buzz. I tweeted about it. I felt the buzz. An incredible feeling, and one that let's just be honest about it, we've all missed. But a goal like that could just be a wire forging the connection between fans and the club and the players again, really.
Shane, we had a comment yesterday on the match reaction.
Yeah.
From Mike from the Rookery end, of course.
Rookery
Some brilliant Rookery Mike, the main man,
I think I know what you're
legend.
Gonna say, and I think I know what you're going to say, but go on.
Did yesterday feel like that Bolton game in 2014-15 for you?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Also, I also kind of add to that as well, maybe Fulham away as well, when we beat them 5-0. I think that it was not so much like, obviously, but the Fulham game, we absolutely destroyed it. But the Bolton game really stood out because a hard-fought game, a game that could have swung either way, a late goal as well. I think the goal that day was scored, was it 9? Similar kind of time, wasn't it? 9
yeah, it was
minute,
late.
I think it might have
very
been.
late. Yeah,
I think it might have been.
Who scored that in the end? Was it Troy?
I think it was Troy, yeah.
Yeah, it was Troy. 94th
minute. Yeah, 94th minute. I was there somewhere towards the front, obviously, just ballistically.
Alvin, come in!
Troy, I rip off your shirt. No, I didn't. Please don't try and find the clip, so I have not ripped off my shirt. And you will not be tagging me in any videos of that. Enough of the shenanigans. But no, listen,
brilliant.
A lot of fans spoke about it yesterday, the away end yesterday. If we'd scored that, if fans had been there, I wouldn't be here now, to be honest. I would be without a limb, possibly 2. I'd have a hoarse voice.
I've lost my voice a little bit. I don't know if you can tell, Shane. I'm sounding a little bit Dyche. A little bit Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche. Yeah. It's a little bit a little bit groggy today. But Shane, just on that, do you feel like we mentioned the turning point, and I think we actually mentioned on a Sunday night with Shane about, I think it was after the commentary game, and we said to ourselves, we need to go on an 8-game winning run, right? And we've got 7 wins out of the last 8. Is the belief there? I think yesterday is the belief there now with you that we can do this?
The belief has always been there with me, like somewhere, even if I don't visibly show it, because as I said a few weeks ago on this very kind of like show, and I said I always had a little flame in my heart for an automatic promotion push. I said that maybe after the Bristol City game, thinking that maybe we had turned the corner. But the one thing that I want to say is the way we've bounced back after the Bournemouth defeat. I think that was the big moment where I was like, okay, it could either go either one or two ways. Either we kick on, which we have done, or we kind of slump. And there's a bit of a downward trend in that respect. But I've always believed that we would get promoted this season. I think if I've got my brutal Hornet Shane hat on, it's got to be this season, if I'm being honest with you, because don't think we can afford to not do it this season. We've got the best resources, I think, the best players available to us. I think a lot of people would have settled for a playoff place. I think I was almost certain that we were going to at least be in the playoffs, but we've put in so much of the groundwork already. And you're looking at the table now. I've got the table up here in front of me. 69 points plus 23 goal difference. It's 10 points, of course, behind Norwich. Norwich just look like they're unbeatable, although for about 70 minutes or so today, it looked like there might have been a small glimmer of hope there. But
they look like they're getting 100 points as well, Shane.
Yeah, it does look like that. And fair play to them. It's almost kind of slightly, not to kind of take like the shine off, the weekend and all that, but I do kind of think back to if we weren't, just dilly-dallying for the first 20 games of the season, what really could have been.
Very
really
true.
Couldn't we? If we not so much if we had Cisco from the start, because I think that's a bit unfair on him, and I think it's unfair on his predecessor. But I think if we had that formation, the 4-3-3, if we were utilising the wingers, Sema, Sarr yesterday were very busy, well in the action. I actually thought Sarr was unlucky to have not got a penalty yesterday. I thought his Cardiff centre-back absolutely clattered him in that second half in the box. And I think that probably should have been given. Sema and Sarr, you've got João Pedro in there. You've got the midfielders, Hughes as well. Again, you guys mentioned it yesterday. Hasn't really been mentioned throughout the weekend, but that's just because he got on with his job yesterday. He goes about it. He is the cucumber in that midfield, isn't he? The cool and calm customer in there. And, and he is. And we talk about, how and why this run has kind of come about. We talk about the formation changes, one part of it. The personnel has got to be in there. Messina, the last couple of games, he's massively stepped up, isn't he? He's much maligned. Winning goal last week against Nottingham Forest and the winning goal yesterday. Chalobah stepped up his performances, stepping up, I think, as a player. in this team. And I think the third mention must go at centre-back to Francisco Sirialta. He has transformed that team, and he is the big reason why Kiefer Moore got very few sniffs really yesterday. If we're being honest with you, we didn't start Sirialta at the Vic. Kiefer Moore won every single header that day. Starting him in there, it made a massive difference to us. Sirialta has made a huge difference to our defence. And whilst we kind of I think things have kind of been spoken about, Ivic made the side more defensive. It was good defensively, but up the field, we were staler than a piece of bread, basically. And things weren't really moving. Things weren't very fluid. You kind of I felt like we were kind of relying a little bit too much, perhaps, on the likes of Troy, on the likes of Andre, and it was quite clear that it wasn't working. I felt like we were kind of shoehorning players to play a certain way. The 4-4-2 shackles were lifted. The 4-3-3 came along, and look, I mean, just look at what we've seen since then. And there was a lot of doom and gloom on the channel, and rightly so, frankly. After the Coventry game, a lot of people were like, right now, we'd be lucky to sustain a promotion push. Quite a dark place, I think, as well as a club with, Ivic going, Munoz coming in. Munoz again, Cisco, he's got to get a lot of credit. He's
Absolutely.
got things so right. I've seen a lot of people being like, he's only like a caretaker manager. What's different about this guy compared to our predecessors? I think it's the fact that I don't know who mentioned it yesterday, but I completely agreed with them. He hasn't retired that long ago himself. That very much the feeling of he is one of the players. Come on.
I think Sam mentioned it yesterday, actually.
Sam might have mentioned it yesterday.
I think it was Sam.
I mean, rewind those celebrations, though, at the end of the game.
Cisco,
man, you think he's playing as like number 28 or something in the squad. Like, he was so in there. You know what I mean? And I think it's that belief that he's given a lot of the lads in there. The fact that, we can do it. And a little bit of 80s pop music does go a long way,
It seems like Shane... Sorry. It seems like these... Sorry, just to interrupt there. It seems like these players do react to a kind of player coach kind of model manager or head coach. We've saw it with Slav before. There was obviously a real relationship there with some of the players. Kike was a young... He's not an old manager. Yeah. Mazzari's obviously the one who was maybe a little bit more disciplinarian. Beppe Sannino. We've seen two styles where there's a kind of the motivator, the young motivational coach. Then you've got the older, more disciplinarian, authoritative coach. It does seem like with this appointment, regardless of maybe sometimes it's tactically a little bit naive, I think we can all agree at times with the substitutions. Yeah. But it seems like he's getting a lot out of these players. And as you mentioned at the top of the show, Shane, the belief is there. So on Cisco, how much credit do we have to give him?
I give him quite a lot more credit than I think he would probably get in this kind of situation. Obviously, we know the players are the ones that go out there, they perform, they put in the hard graft, they score the goals, they win us the 3 points. But I think the man management side of things, I think that's crucial. That's absolutely massive. And I remember, I think it might have been Troy that said it on Hive Live, around about the Christmas period, as we mentioned, Cisco relating to the players as if he's still a player. The whole giving them an extra day off over Christmas. I think they're actually able to stay at their own homes, I think, throughout Christmas Day, etc. That's big because it shows the players kind of down to their level. Now, there are obviously bad things to, kind of say about that. You don't really want a manager to maybe be your best friend. Maybe that's crossing a kind of line. But you know what? It's obvious that these players kind of relate to Cisco. And I think that you've got to remember that the players in the squad, the vast majority of them are not older. They're not old players. We've got quite a lot of younger players in there that maybe do benefit from an arm around them every so often, give them that little bit of a pep talk, the G'ing up. I noticed it as well, actually, with the, which I hope they do kind of make a return as well, by the way, the pitch side cam that the club did. I think it might have been for the Huddersfield game. I remember, and we had, you had Cisco's, I'll never forget this moment for as long as I live. You have Cisco's assistant, like dog whistling at half the players on the pitch, but you've got Cisco actually there talking to the substitutes. I remember, I think it might have been when Andre came on, he was giving Andre like a proper talking to, not strict though. He had a smile on his face, Cisco. It wasn't like, right, you're about to go in, it's last 20 minutes now, you've got to fight. It wasn't a serious face. He had like a proper smile on his face, like being like, go out there, do your stuff, do the things that I know you can do. Andre Cisco is very publicly backed a lot of players. He's publicly backed Andre. He's given them that confidence. Sometimes you don't see that with quite a lot of managers. You know, you can name quite a lot of managers that would be the first people to kind of slate them in that kind of way. The majority of Cisco's press conferences, the majority of his post-match thoughts have always been very positive. Obviously, when we've won, that's a lot easier, but he's a lot more reflective post-match, I think, in matches as well. And I think that plays a huge part in what the players kind of read. The players ultimately know the goal, don't they? They've all come out, you know, as part of High Blood, part of like the wider media commitments to say our job is promotion. I pick up the program most weeks, of course, in the home games, and a lot of the player interviews this season, including people like Dan Gosling, for example, who's only been here for like around about a month or so now, has said the aim is for me to help this club get back to where they belong. It's that firm belief. It's been there for a very long time. I think Troy maybe said it in a Hive Live interview when we weren't playing so well. But that belief has always been there from the players. I just feel like they've needed a manager that believes in them as well. Manager that kind of unleashes the shackles, lets them play their way. And look, we're reaping the rewards here, aren't we? You know, we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. We needed to get the win away from home at Cardiff was the toughest test, I think, this month in the month of March, and it was a huge statement of a win. I mean, let's be honest, 9 times out of 10 that game ends in a 1-1 draw, and that's it, isn't it? Or we go 1-0 down, and I think maybe under certain managers the game ends in a defeat to Watford. It didn't happen yesterday, and I was so proud of the players, the way they fought back from that. A lot of pride, and I was genuinely buzzing after that game. Of hours and hours and hours after kickoff, opened my phone this morning, seeing all the pictures again. You know, the club tweeting. I didn't actually catch the tweet yesterday, but the club.
What do you think of the bench cam?
This is what it means. Yeah, exactly, and this is what it means to the players. You know, all coming down there. Yeah. Isaac was knocking out Andre Gray in the tunnel.
Isaac looked scared, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he looked like something was going to happen.
Andre was like pushing him, and he was like,
"Oh,
yeah, what's happening, Andre?
Starting on me?" But look, that shows. And again, it shows if you're Andre, if you're Isaac, no matter who you are in there, that adrenaline that you have, the buzz that I don't think us fans have felt in a very long time. It came back yesterday. It came back in a little bucket load, and I'll tell you what, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and it brought a big smile to my face in a situation now where we're hopefully not too far away from seeing fans back at stadiums again. I mean, I don't know what I would have given to have been there just for that free kick alone. I think that would have just been worth it, wouldn't it? But the
Shane,
key again,
I'll tell you what.
Go on.
So I'll tell you what. We'll take a little break there. We're gonna have a little read through your comments, and then we'll get back to Shano. Actually, there's a few questions here for you, Shane. But before we do get into it, lads, please, and lads and ladies, please do leave a like on the video if you enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to WD18. The numbers have been absolutely brilliant on the videos recently. Some really, really good numbers. Thank you for all the support. And let us know your questions down in the comment section below, and we'll fire them across to Shane. Drew says one here. Have you taken that Watford shirt off since your video yesterday, Jacob? I have taken the shirt off, Drew. I thought to myself, do I just go with a standard jumper? And then I thought to myself, no. Adam Messina was wearing this shirt yesterday, so I'm going to wear it in awe of Adam Messina. Next question.
What a great question that was by Drew, man. I can't lie.
That is a brilliant, brilliant question. We've got a few here. Elliot on the channel, obviously regular. Is it Cleverley straight back in for PZ when fit, Shano?
Elliot, the man who is a sports reporter by day and a scout by night.
Yeah. I was actually surprised not to see Elliot on the bench cam yesterday. Brilliant.
Fantastic. But he's okay. Hang on. Let me just read the question. So Cleverley, this is a really interesting one because I kind of focused on Chalobah towards like the start of this, and I kind of said I feel like Zinc kind of brings out the best maybe in Chalobah. I think Zinc's able to kind of pick out a few of those holes. Do I think Cleverley comes back in again for him? I would say no for now, on the basis that we are on a winning run. I feel like if Zinc starts with the next couple of matches, which I think obviously he will, I think he should start kind of going into the international break. I would carry on with him. I don't think there's any reason to drop him. And that's quite a tough question in some respects because
very difficult.
Cleverley is a big player for us. And I think whilst I talk about form and all that kind of stuff, I still kind of feel like when Cleverley is back, I feel like Cisco will have a very different opinion to me, and obviously he's entitled to because he runs the team kind of thing, and not me. So, I feel like what I would do in that situation is I'd let Zink carry on, and I put Cleverley on the bench and kind of feel his way back in again. So I don't really want to rush him back. The worst thing we want to do with Cleverley is to rush him back in again because we need him back, kind of thing, and that could be detrimental to him. I feel like when he is back fit, though, Cisco is just going to put him in because he's a key player for us. And, we kind of mourned his loss. It's not really been that deeply felt so far, but I think we're being helped as well with an international break, a final push this week for the players before some of them will get themselves at least a week off. And, that's, again, another situation that we really want to touch on later on about, players going off for international breaks. It's just a bit... I'm just not sure about it at the moment. I've seen a lot of managers, I think Premier League managers have stopped some of their players from going abroad. I think if we're in a push for promotion, I think we should probably be doing the same, personally. But that's another bridge, of course. But no,
it's very difficult, isn't
question,
it? Very difficult.
In answer to Elliot's question, Zink stays in and Cleverley kind of feels his way back in, I think. But I don't know what other people think, though. I'd be very interested to know. I think it's a very tough call on that respect, because I think if you Zink, you're kind of sitting there thinking, well, I've not really done anything wrong. If he's played poorly in those 2 games, you could be like, okay, well, I've not really excelled to the very best that I can. Therefore, Clev's coming back in. Yeah, well, I can kind of understand that. But for me, he's not really done too much wrong. And I think there's been a big call from the fan base to be like, okay, well, we've kind of signed him. He's got this record in Europe. Why is he not playing? Why is he not starting games? And I think now he's gone on a very good run. I kind of don't see any reason to kind of disrupt that run and potentially knock his confidence, which is one thing that, of course, that we don't really want to do. So
yeah, absolutely.
An interesting question.
I think from my perspective on PZ7, I think what we get with him, particularly in the 3-man midfield, is someone who drives the ball really well. He connects the attacking midfield perfectly, and then when you have Hughesy sitting kind of at the base. Yeah. Chalobah breaking out, Zink making those getting into the pockets just in between the back 4. There's a nice balance, I have to admit, between Hughesy, Chalobah and Zinkenol. We're just on that, Shano. Aaron Bennis, fan of the channel, top man Aaron.
Big up, Aaron.
In your opinion, Shane, what is Chalobah's best role?
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? I really like him actually in the furthest forward position, I think that we saw him in yesterday. I think, listen, it is quite difficult to kind of like predict that. I think it's also interesting as well, because whilst I was watching him in a slightly further forward position, a lot of the graphics I saw of our formations just saw him along in like a line of 3. So I don't know if that's fluid. I don't know if it's just people not doing their research or something, but I quite liked. And I'm not going to accuse anyone of not doing their research, obviously. Of course not. But, but you know what I mean? Like, I kind of have. So there we go. I feel like, as you say, Hughes in like that deeper kind of line role. I like Chalobah kind of almost like alongside Zink in that respect. I think that's his best position. I don't like it when Chalobah drops deeper, personally. I've seen him do that a few times. I don't think that really suits him. But as you say, Zink, that's the one thing as well, actually. And if we kind of link this question and the last question, you're talking about Cleverley. I don't think Cleverley does what Zink does. I know that's a very obvious point to make, but Zinkernagel yesterday running into those pockets, as you say, that's massive for us. That's how you're going to unlock defences. You can switch the ball out to Sema, who will make them run for it, of course. I think the rest is on Sema as well, a dose of good. He looked a lot better yesterday. And ultimately, there are reinforcements there, of course, for him. But going back onto Chalobah, I feel like his best position is not in the deepest role, if you get what I mean. It's kind of slightly further forward role. And as I say, his performances have been fantastic, and he's flourishing in this 4-3-3. He's flourishing in a team that contains Will Hughes, really. And Will Hughes is the big one, isn't it? Because he was out for a long time. Chalobah was playing in those matches, maybe even playing at the base, with Cleverley further forward. It wasn't really working. I think there might only have been maybe 1 or 2 games where that did genuinely work against Huddersfield, where again, the goalie made a mistake. Cleverley was just running onto the ball anyway, and a goal like that, it's a goal for him, etc. But it wasn't really a workable kind of formation. It wasn't a workable strategy, and I feel like we've got the balance right as of now, really.
Yeah, I completely agree, Shano. And I think looking kind of at another side of it is that we've now got depth with Cleverley coming back. We've got Gosling coming back in. And there's going to be games this season with the last 10 games, right, where we're going to have to rotate it and we're going to have to play a different style of football, which might not be as attractive, but it's going to have to be about grinding out. And if you're looking at two championship players that you want to bring in, Cleverley, Gosling, in certain games are perfect.
I told you, mate. It's about the Avengers. I told you this last week. It's about the Avengers all gearing themselves up. I saw the picture on Friday night. Tom Delibashiru, Troy doing the crunches up on the bar.
I miss Tom. I miss Tom.
Oh,
come on, TDB, orgasmic, the legend.
Mate. Orgasmic is what that was. Is what that really was. All three of them.
Drew in the comments, Shano, Rotherham, Birmingham, and Sheffield Wednesday next. How many points do you think we'll get? Because I think we should be aiming for 9, right?
Yeah, we should be aiming for 9. I was going to say Shane going to be the curse that brings it all down. No.
Another away game and then 2 home games back to back, Shano.
It's going to be a different kind of team, though, isn't it? It's going to be a different kind of setup from the opposition. Rotherham, Birmingham, and Sheffield Wednesday are going to use the same kind of formation, the same kind of tactics as Wickham did. Especially Birmingham and Sheffield Wednesday, I think in particular. But the Rotherham, again, I genuinely hope does go ahead. I know they've had a few problems, I think, with COVID and all that. We need that really to go ahead on Tuesday. Can't afford to have a backlog towards the end of the season because it's already looking like a backlog at the end of the season. I think we'll get 9 points. There are 3 massive games, but they're sides that, if we're being honest, we didn't really excel against the last time we played them. Rotherham at the Vic. 2-0 win, did the job in the first half, very limp second half. Rotherham probably should have scored, if we're being brutally honest. Birmingham away is one of the worst games I've seen this season. That was tough. And 85th minute penalty, and I may or may not have whipped off my shirt in celebration of that. But and then Sheffield Wednesday again. Sheffield Wednesday back in September. This side was totally different, wasn't it? We didn't even know who was going to stay. We didn't know who was going to, depart and all that kind of stuff. And
I've just got an image, of Shane, Deanie smashing it, and you just going around his living room.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah. Sorry, Shane, I really interrupted.
I'm not going to elaborate on that because I think it's pretty.
That's accurate. Why that's why we haven't done any live watch-alongs recently.
Oh God!
Because I think yesterday would have been.
Can you imagine the live watch-along though for yesterday? I would have just lost it.
Mate, the top was off. It was swinging around. I thought I was like Ryan Giggs against Arsenal.
The hairy chest,
Yeah, literally.
For everyone. But no, you know what? Those are 3 very big matches. Of course, as you know, it's a family affair for me when we play Birmingham. Of course, my cousins are big Birmingham City supporters, and they've been given some big news today. Of course, Aitor Karanka has been relieved of his duties, so they're over the moon and they're very happy with that. And, I hate to say it, that new manager bounce, could it work for them? I think they've got Reading in midweek, and then they come to Vicarage Road, so there's going to be a little bit of new impetus kind of there for them. We should have enough, I think, to beat them. I think, to be honest, it's just about going in there with the same kind of belief as we have done for the last couple of matches. That the great games that we've seen against the likes of Bristol City, for example. I wasn't expecting us to beat Bristol City in the way in which we did. We're coming up against 3-tier sides now, who again, they're very tough in their own right. Let's be clear. Sheffield Wednesday took the lead today against Norwich and looked all right for at least the first half of that game.
Under Darren Moore. Yeah, they definitely had a bounce, haven't they?
Exactly, and again, a new manager bounce kind of there. All right, didn't really work out for them today. But in answer to that question, it's got to be 9 points. It's got to be 9 points now. And after the international break, of course, it's Sheffield Wednesday. The next big game for us, I think, of where I'm going to have what I call jitters, is probably Middlesbrough away. And how ironic is it, Jacob, that this week the TV fixtures were announced and Middlesbrough away is 12:30 on the Easter Monday.
Yeah.
Can anyone tell me when that last happened? Or last time we played Middlesbrough on an Easter Monday? I wonder. I wonder, eh? Hey?
Troy and Odeon.
I did a little when I saw that I did a little Alan Pardew kind of dance, like because I kind of knew it as well, and I saw so many people were like, "Oh my god, like that's all right," and I actually forgot we played them on Easter Monday in the 14-15 season.
Shane,
I completely forgot that.
Can we just say, if we do get promoted, will you post a video of yourself doing the Alan Pardew?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Why not? Why not? Like,
no, I'm only teasing, mate. Next question here from Charlotte.
Mate, I'll tell you what I'll do. All right, I'll tell you what I'll do. All right, if we beat Swansea on the last game of the season,
are we shaking this virtually?
Okay. All right, I will go to Vicarage Road and I will do the dance with the one and only Keith Andrews if he's actually there. Okay, like. And Hornet Shane has been banned from entering the commentator's box at Vicarage Road.
Charlotte's
do not go near the media team.
Do you think we will see Foster back this season? Backman, in Charlotte's opinion, had a few rash moments yesterday, particularly when he picked up the booking. Yeah. I think I have to agree with Charlotte in that respect. I think the yellow card that Backman picked up, I don't think it was anything more than a yellow. I saw some shouts for a red, which was pretty. Yeah, I'm not too sure. Not from Watford fans, but I saw it online.
The Cardiff lot, I'm sure, were up on their arms. We're up on their feet about that, really.
Yeah, exactly, Shane. And just on Daniel, it's a really difficult one because I think he's actually done really well since he's come in. But there's been a couple of moments in the last couple of games where there's been maybe a lapse of concentration or maybe a little bit of a rash moment. What's your take on the Backman-Foster situation? Will we see Foster back this season?
I think fitness-wise, obviously he was on the bench yesterday, which was a slight surprise, to be honest with you. We've got the backup though, haven't we, with Elliott? So it should be. Sorry, I should just say Rob Elliott, not R. Elliott. Even though
not Elliott Murray.
Sterling jobbing goal. So
Elliott used to be a left back, by the way. Adam Messina, really? Roberto Carlos, Elliott Murray.
I mean, we've got two absolute legends of the game in Roberto Carlos, haven't we? So that's fantastic to see. But in answer to Charlotte's actual question,
sorry about that.
Not on Roberto Carlos, but
sorry
on the
about
mighty Ben Foster. Look, for me, I've made this quite clear. I think elsewhere, Backman should stay in goal for me. It was a reckless moment yesterday, and I feel like that maybe he wasn't helped by other players. I think in front of him. I pointed out Trust earlier on in an instance there whereby it was just easier to clear the ball. He didn't. He still bobbed around. Backman had a rush of blood. It was reckless from Backman. The first thing I said when he got the yellow was, come on, Dan, that's reckless. Really kind of very uncharacteristic from him, actually. And I've seen a few fans talk about, he has kind of flapped at chances. A lot of fans have put the blame on the Bournemouth goal on him. I think that was a bit harsh. I don't actually think it was directly his fault. I feel like Cathcart in front of him maybe should have done a bit better with that. I think that's just my own personal opinion. If I watch that back, really. It's all about being sharp, all about playing to the whistle, etc. And I just don't think Cathcart did that on that particular day. For me, Backman stays in, and Foster's got to work to get his way back in again. I have an odd feeling though that Foster coming straight back onto the bench yesterday is a sign of what maybe Cisco's thinking for the run-in. We talk about experience, we talk about the know-how, the leadership in that team. I feel like maybe Cisco, if he was to weigh it up, might go with Foster. I'd be very disappointed, personally. We've had Backman on the channel. He's a really top guy. He's got big ambitions. Top guy. Big ambitions this season to go with Austria to the Euros and to play his part there and everything, get into that squad. I think it'd be a hammer blow for him if he was to be dropped. I don't think he's done anything necessarily massively wrong at the moment. It's not like, except for the Bournemouth game, it's not like he's made a big mistake yesterday and it cost us the 3 points. If anything, it was a moment that we could kind of isolate away from the overall game. But I think in answer to the question, you've got to keep Backman in, unless Backman gets injured, for me, because I think there are doubts, of course, as to who kind of, and we're in an interesting position now, maybe next season, as to who kind of carries on, etc. I don't even know how long's left on Foster's contract in that respect. I don't actually think it runs out this summer. I think he's maybe got another year left on it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he signed a 2-year deal last season, at the end of last season.
So I know, and again, when we say things again, and when we say things like that, it kind of begs the question that he will still be here next season at the ripe old age of 38. Okay, But is he going to be blocking other goalkeepers from coming through? Pontus Dahlberg's been on loan at Swedish side Häcken for the last few months. He's been putting in some decent performances there. When are we going to start to see those guys push forward? We've done very well with Bachmann so far. Really done very well. And I remember at the time, I think it's got to continue. I remember before the Stoke City, after the Stoke City game, I remember I was talking to a Stoke fan who I kind of gave a lot of praise to Bachmann that game, and he got into my messages and was like, "You guys stole Bachmann off us. He was a great goalkeeper. We had kind of earmarked him to be our number one." And a lot of might have been Hibernian fans as well were really kind of getting themselves in. They loved him up in Scotland.
Kilmarnock, wasn't it? They loved him.
Sorry.
They still comment on his Instagram and his Twitter saying, up the Killy and stuff.
Oh,
and stuff
they absolutely love him. So for me, answer the question, Bachmann stays in. Foster, for me, I think he's got to make do with a spot on the bench. Although you could argue in that respect, what's Rob Elliott done to deserve to be dropped out of a matchday squad?
Very true. Last question today, Shane. There's two kind of ties into one. So Caroline, fan of the channel, thank you so much for watching today, Caroline.
Yes, Caroline.
Should we rest Sema for a couple of games? He looks tired. And just to link in Rudy's question here, obviously Rudy regular on the channel when we used to do fan cams. Would you start Hungbo against Rotherham? Shano, on those two, they kind of link together. What are your thoughts?
I think the week off, the week with no game last week has done Sema a world of good. I thought he looked a lot better yesterday. I still don't think he's 100%. I think I do kind of take on board what Caroline's saying there. I don't think he was 100% at his very best. I know we've kind of spoken about his struggles and all that stuff with COVID. I just think he's maybe suffering a little bit more than I think we all kind of realise. But I think it's FOMO, isn't it? Really, not to quote a marketing term. It is the fear of missing out with him, and he wants to be there. And he wants to be there. He played a big part yesterday. He was absolutely ecstatic when he scored yesterday. Then again, I noticed so was Joseph Hungbo on the bench as well.
Brilliant. And DJ the Kit Man, he gave it the old.
Yeah.
Come on. DJ was loving it.
And that's kind of not so much a problem. It's actually a fantastic problem to have because they all want to be there. They all want to play. They all want to play their part, don't they? Hungbo was great last Saturday. It's a tough decision. I think you maybe go with Sema for the Rotherham game. I don't really want to kind of risk changing things up too much. I'm not going to get into the danger either of saying, well, we're playing against this team. They're not as good. Therefore, we can bring in an under 23. I don't think it would really work like that. I noticed yesterday, for example, whilst it was still 1-1, etc., Cisco, I think, was quite cautious. He didn't really make too many unexpected changes in a way. I thought Hungbo coming on against Nottingham Forest was great. It was quite unexpected, though. I wasn't expecting him to come on necessarily. But Ken's got to be aware, and it's nothing, and there's no kind of slight here on Ken. I think he's a good player for us, but he's got to be aware that there is competition on that left-hand side now. Hungbo, maybe you'd argue he's more natural. You've also got Isaac's Success out there as well. He can play out there. Isaac's in the squad. He almost got killed by Andre yesterday in the tunnel, but and he's alive still, thankfully. But there is competition there now, and Ken, obviously he might be struggling a little bit with that. He's got to be wary of that. So in answer to the question, Ken, midweek he starts for me. Next Saturday, depending on his performance, depending on how he's kind of feeling, you can maybe change things up. But I think, as a lot of us have said on this channel many times before, why would you change a winning team? And I've said this in previous weeks. If a player calls for a rest, you rest them. If they don't, you've got to carry on. It's a big push now. Between now and this time next week, we'll have played 2 more matches, and the international break comes at a time when I think a lot of players will be getting a rest. I think if you were to go through that team that started yesterday, how many of them are going out on internationals? Not that many. I would say not that many. Bachmann, I think, will probably get the call up.
Troost-Ekong will.
Sierralta will. I think the one area where I think we are blessed is our midfield won't. As much as I'd love to see Chalobah and Hughes in an England shirt, I don't think that's going to happen personally. I think that's where it's really going to help, because the midfield engine is going to get a rest for a week.
As well, when he's back, absolutely.
He's not going to be in there. You've got maybe Isaac's Successor, I think, might go out. Zhao, I think he's going to go out, and it will be and Sarr, and those guys will be on painstakingly long journeys to play.
When you think about it, it's quite
and Ken as well. And maybe with that in mind, obviously, Ken will come back from the international break. He'll probably be absolutely shattered in all due respect to him. But maybe after the international break is where you kind of maybe take a decision on Ken, depending on when he comes back from the international. So, okay, do you know what? You've only just come back. You see it quite a lot. Players only come back from international break on the Thursday evening, etc., depending on where they're playing. I think instantly of João Pedro. South Americans travel a long way, come back to training on Friday morning before a Saturday game, etc. They play a lot later, I think, in the international break, late at night as well. Maybe there'll be a little bit of rotation there, but we've got the personnel, we've got the competition. You've got Andre in there who could quite easily step in for a game. I want to touch on a minor point as well that I think we made a big point about this last week. There was no Stipe yesterday, which I thought was quite interesting. And again, touching on what we were saying, does Cisco really kind of favour him in that kind of respect? You've of course got Troy coming back, who I think will work off as a plan B, along with Andre. Lots of options. The players are hungry. They all look up for it. And it was great, as I said, on Friday night to see Tom Dele-Bashiru and those guys stepping up their recovery. Everyone's coming back. And as the wisest man who I've ever seen, except for obviously yourself.
Keith Andrews.
And Keith Andrews, obviously.
And
Colin
Garth
Murray
Crooks.
Colin Murray, actually, and Garth Crooks as well, although I had a small screen watching final
I saw your
yesterday.
Insta story. Make sure you go and follow Shane on Insta, by the way.
I was like, yeah, should I include this or will I get a final score jive in the comments? I wondered if I was to do that.
When I saw it, I was like, I've got to mention on Sunday night with Shane.
Yeah, no,
Garth Crooks in the
absolutely,
corner.
because, of course, as some people may not know, Jason Mohammed is a massive Cardiff City supporter. He did very well yesterday, actually, to kind of cover up his, I'm sure, deep upset as well. He's a great presenter, kind of bringing it alive. Watford, 94th minute goal, snatching it, going up to second in the last minutes. He must have been deeply hurting inside because it was a crushing blow for Cardiff yesterday. But listen, as Colin Murray said yesterday on the highlight show, it's all coming together for Watford. It's all coming together for them.
He couldn't resist doing the accent. He couldn't resist.
Cowley as well. He was on the show. He made reference to the 4-3-3. Watford are playing. They're hitting form at the right time, and they're all absolutely right. We are hitting form at the right time. Jason Mohammed said it was a massive win for Watford yesterday. It's all coming together ever so slowly. It is, and we can start. There is that belief. The players are up for it. We saw it in the celebrations yesterday, didn't we? It was huge. Big game on Tuesday night. We've got to keep the momentum going. We've got to keep it going as well next Saturday, live on Sky again, of course. 2 big games, 2 tough sides to go up against. We need to be targeting 6 points before the international break. Have a week off, and then I can all just, have a nice sleep in maybe during the international break. But a big week. Players have got to knuckle down hard. Next Saturday evening at 5:00, it'll all be over for about a week or so. Knuckle down and get the 6 points and make us feel like we did yesterday at 5:00, because I'll tell you what, it was euphoric and I missed it and I want to experience it again. So come on, you Orns, do it for me.
Well said, Shane. Shane, take a bow, son.
Come on.
Come on.
Yes.
Love to see it. Freddie in the comments. If you did enjoy tonight's episode, please do leave a like on the stream.
Yes.
Make sure you go and follow Shane on his Twitter and Instagram. The link is in the description below. He does a fantastic stuff, not only on the channel, but his own socials as well. And if you want to get in touch with Shane and have the conversation, because I think the main thing about these sort of shows, guys, is we want to get the conversation going. While we're not at the games, while we're not speaking to other fans in person, we're trying to create that space for you to do that. So make sure you do get your comments in the comment section. Message us on our Twitter at WDA18fans, or Instagram at WDA18fans. Drop us a follow. Thank you so much for all the kind comments in the chat tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Shane, we'll be back next week, won't we? Fingers crossed off the two Watford wins. If it's 2 Messina winners, I won't be complaining. It's been an absolute pleasure tonight. Absolute pleasure. Shane, have a great week, mate. Come on, you Hornets.
Come on, you Horns. Come on.